I mean, I would say, first of all, like, don't fear the idea. If the idea feels too big, don't run from it. But definitely take bite-sized chunks. Don't confuse novelty with value. Got to create experiences or content or or contextualized delivery in a way that makes somebody come back or want to continue using it or continue coming back to the experience. And it's not just a Saturday night thing, for example. So I think definitely considering the novelty aspect will wear thin very quickly. And I'd probably say, like, just it's really important to think about multidisciplinary teams, right? It's not just engineers, it's creators, it's filmmakers, it's the ethics side of it, it's the safety side of it. I think you need to bring in experts at the right moments, but there needs to be cross-discipline in order to really encapsulate or ensure that you are approaching it holistically and thinking of all the elements that need to be integrated from the start.
Yes, beautiful. So from what I'm getting from you, it also takes a lot of patience for young women and people who are looking at you. And just to finalize this fireside chat, where do you see the next major breakthrough for spatial computing and multisensory storytelling?
Yeah. So I don't, we tried this in 2018. I think embodied AI is going to do a lot. So the ability to, I think embodied AI is going to change the game. The ability to be in an experience and to actually define my own experience in real time, shift and change the story or my environment in real time. I think that's really important. One thing we did with the Unreal Garden, which I don't think we have time for a video, but it was, there were layers of immersion. So there was the physical, there were projections that were passive, there were projections that were interactive. We had a HoloLens that had AR content, and the interaction would be between the HoloLens and projections, and you could create magic around you. And we did, and do ambisonic sound, spatial sound in situ of content, as well as eventually adding haptics. And so I do think, I do believe that multisensory is going to be critical, especially, again, it's like, how do we live our day to day? Take out an immersive experience. You feel, you touch, you see. And these are the things that, like, this is where I think the power comes in, because, you can take reality, like I said, and create fantasy, Trojan horse, the message without preaching to people. It could be a very fun story, but you're talking about the climate, or you're talking about this or that, or the other. And so I think, think of it that way, designed to how we live our lives today.
Awesome. Layla, you were very kind with your insights and your time, and would love to have you back. But as for now, I'll just say thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing what you've experienced throughout your career. And it's a very good gather for us when it comes to this passage.
Yeah, it's a great gather. Thank you for setting this up, and thank you for having these kind of events. I think it's so important for women to feel comfortable and not avoiding technology and technology fields. And I think we bring a special power and magic and knowledge that can truly create lasting experiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's nice.
That's a wrap. Over to you, Gatherverse team. Thank you.
Bye.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Messina Morris, and today we are about to step into a moment that matters. I have the honor of moderating Leaders Advancing Humanity's Progress today at the She Superhero Engine Summit 2026. This conversation will be centered on what it truly means to lead with humanity at the core. Today, I will bring together women who do not separate innovation from ethics, strategy from care, or progress from responsibility. These are leaders shaping the future with intention, courage, and a deep commitment to people. Again, I am an educator, technologist, futurist, and biomolecular chemist, also known as Dr. Molder of Minds or Dr. Mom. I am a wife and mother of 5 sons, including a son with autism. I'm the director of Metaverse programs and professor of practice at Morehouse College and founder of Metaverse United. It is my honor to guide this dialogue. Now let's advance humanity on purpose. Welcome to the stage, all of these beautiful women. Thank you so much for joining today. It is such a pleasure to see all of your beautiful faces. Let's get down to business and talk about how we as leaders are advancing humanity's progress. But before we do that, let's please start with Dr. Tammy Francis and quick introduction. Let us know who you are.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Tammy. I help you move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next. And I do that in education and in my business. So I look forward to sharing more about that on the panel. Thank you, Dr. Morris.
Thank you, Tammy. Dr. Tammy Francis. Okay, let me have Marion Villa.
Hello everyone, I'm Marian Villa and work as developer relations at the Interledger Foundation. I focus on building and supporting global community around open, inclusive financial technology. And my work is an intersection between technology, community, and human-centered impact. So that lens strongly shapes how I think about leadership, about innovation and progress. So I'm honored to be part of this panel.
Next, we have Jen Lastra.
Hi, everybody. I am part of a virtual reality safety training company. So we're using VR to save lives for high-risk industries like construction, warehouse manufacturing, giving frontline workers a new perspective on what physical and personal safety actually looks like, sounds like, and feels like. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, Jen. And thank you, Marion, too, for your wonderful introduction. I look forward to hearing from you. Let's go to Mary.
Hi everyone. I am excited to be here today, and I am Mary Waweru, the founder of AI Literacy Hub, and I sit at the intersection of people, processes, and technology, and I am excited to be here today for this summit. Thank you.
Next, we have Thalia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zulia. I lead marketing at GoTo, a workforce marketplace in dental and healthcare. My work involves labor, technology, and human outcomes. At GoTo, we publish a state of work survey, a comprehensive workforce survey, which is our way of looking at data and lived experiences together to understand how volatility actually shows up in people's lives. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
And finally, we have Sequoia.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about this panel. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alexor Spark. We're a consumer insights platform that allows brands to create deeper relationships with their customers. So our goal is to treat the customer with care. And so they're not a disposable entity to the brand. And I am super excited to talk about how we integrate AI into our ecosystem. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Sequoia and Thalia. Now we also have Jabet. She's just joined us. Please introduce yourself, Jabet. Oh, you're on mute, baby. Check your mic. Perfect.
So, hi guys, my name is Chebet Koyo. I work as a program coordinator in Queen of Peace Initiative, which works with indigenous women in northern Kenya. It also works with other community organizations in taking digital skills to the indigenous youth in northern Kenya.
Well, welcome, Javette. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you, ladies. I'm just so excited because this is really a chance in a lifetime to be a part of something that is global. I think our founder of Gatherverse really pleased at how tightly community is and how we all are able to come together and present timely information in this particular day. Let's get started. In humanities do well and proud to say, and that speaks volumes to me. So, which visionary approaches allow women to accelerate societal impact across industries, in your opinion? And I'm going to start with Sequoia.
So, in my opinion, I believe women should authentically be women. I don't think we need to show up as anything different. That's who God put us here to be. And we have a different perspective, we have a different purview and a different lens. And so, for me in particular, the way I do that is I show up with care, I show up with compassion, I show up with empathy. I think about how we're leading from every perspective. I don't think it needs to be authoritative. I think it needs to be collaborative. And so for me, that's kind of how I navigate the world when it comes to showing up in authentic spaces as a woman and a leader.
I love that so much, especially when you talk about accelerating impact with lived empathy, and women do that very well. Next, could you chime in on that, Mary?
Yes, for sure. For me, my opinion, I think it's important for us to take the approach of community first approach. Whatever we are building, in whatever industry we are, in whatever aspects we are in, it is important for us to build thinking of the community first, thinking of the people that we are building like technology for, thinking about the women, starting from the real problems that women are facing or that our target audiences are facing, and not the other way around, starting from technology and then coming to figure out the problem, but starting from problems and people, then scaling higher. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. That really does bring a true approach of humanity and how women center themselves on trying to understand the people rather than just the problem. So, Jen, could you explain, since you work in safety, especially, what visionary approaches that you see allow women to accelerate societal impact, especially in an industry where you're trying to keep the world safe?
Well, and in safety, I mean, the latest thing that they've had in safety to make training and education more impactful is like PowerPoint and Kahoots, which is like a quiz answering thing. So how do you bring real life situations that could cost someone their life? And how do you create simulations that are emotionally engaging, impactful, but don't create maybe even like a PTSD effect? And so again, it goes back to creating content that is memorable, engaging, appropriate. And so it goes back to being a content creator that's using really strong ethics and morals. As we know with VR, you can change people's belief systems. And so we need to be mindful and thoughtful of that. But I love the technology, especially for our youth, when it comes to creating those behavior-based thought processes through expert role modeling, so that we can help them on the front end before they actually step on a construction site or in a high-risk industry, so they're better prepared. So it's giving that experience, that storytelling is really, really impactful.
I love it. I love it. Marion, and then Jabet.
So I think women accelerate impact when we operate as connectors. So linking technology with community, with life experience and innovation with real human needs. I think when you are thinking about the scaling products to a scaling access, for example, in fintech, education, or in the developer ecosystem, impact doesn't come from more features. It comes from lowering barriers to more people can actually participate and have a voice on what we are building.
Jabet. Your mic, Jabet. I know what you're saying is juicy, girl, because you were working it. Your mic again, sweetie. Jabet. Jabet, we can't hear you. Now, oh, one more time. Try it again. There you go. There you go.
Sorry. So I'm saying that to accelerate the impacts, first we need to ensure that it is equally distributed, and then we make sure that it is centered to the people that they are built for. In the community that we work with, we make sure that we establish first the trust with the people, and then establish the problem that those people have, so that whatever you build, you ensure that it is going to help the people directly. I think that is all that I have when it comes to that.
Awesome. Dr. Tammy.
So I really think that part of this approach that we need to have is really looking at what is the human need, and then what are the barriers that are keeping someone from advancing, from the impact that we are seeking to serve, and then implement strategy. I'm all about purpose, I'm all about strategy, and that's that. No matter where I'm in the classroom or in the boardroom, that's where I start. And I think that you have to implement some kind of strategy or tool, and if that's technology, it's technology, and then you have to action. A lot of things, we have these conversations and grand conversations around how can we move things forward, how can we accelerate societal impact, and it's talk, but we have to implement and then measure that impact. Like what is that measurement? Was it really effective? Did it really impact those that we were intending to serve? So I think part of this approach is really having this process, and I think of everything as a progression and and that framework or approach. So I think that we need to lead with purpose and not position.
Very interesting that you drove it back to data. A lot of times we are always in analysis mode as women anyway, intuitively, and looking at the real numbers. What is the truth? We always looking for the truth. Where is the truth and where does that lie? So that we can actually make real change. Thalia, do you want to round us off on this question about what visionary approaches women can use?
Yeah, of course. So, on that same thread of truth, I think a visionary approach that allows women to accelerate societal impact is also something that women tend to be very good at, which is naming the real problem, the root cause of the issue that our technology is trying to solve. I think that it is very easy to be a painkiller or treat the symptomatic ongoings of whatever problem that either your technology or solution is trying to combat. But with our audience at GoTo, our audience that is predominantly female was very good at naming the root cause and the systemic issues that was creating the staffing crisis. And so while a more a less empathetic or human centric group of people may say, no, we just need more hygiene schools. We need more people. What we found is by listening to our audience and by our teams predominantly female, looking deep within, we realized that it was more of an issue about income satisfaction, about feeling valued, feeling respected, burnout. And that allows us to curate our technology and our programs to accelerate societal impact, but also get positive business outcomes at the same time.
I love that. I love that. We're going to move on because we have so much to cover. But I love what each of you all said. And what it all boils down to me is the ability for women to design solutions that scale, but also heal. And now we want to talk about those frameworks that help guide organizational strategy. So a lot of you talked about centering humanity at the beginning of our talk. You talked about that being some of the part of the visionary approach. How do you really prioritize people before products? And how do you prioritize purpose before profit? What kind of models can you lean into that could actually help to integrate ethical foresight, stakeholder dignity, and long term societal return, and not just focus on short term metrics? So, what frameworks do you lean into, Sequoia, when you are dealing with trying to come up with a strategy that actually focuses towards humans?
That's a great question. So, our entire platform is built off of data, consumer insights. And so, when we look at brands who are engaging with their consumers, we're not looking at them as a price, like a purchase of products. We are literally looking at them as an even exchange in value. So, how do you not just say, hey, buy my products, but how do we also compensate the consumer? How do I incentivize them? How do I say, hey, here's an extra, 20% off because you gave us feedback to tell us if our product is functioning well in the market, or here's free shipping, what have you, right? And so I think you can't look at your consumer as a product themselves. You actually have to look at it as an even exchange in value. And that is how reciprocity happens. And so that's structurally how we make that happen within our organization.
I love the idea of you talking about the reciprocity. So many people have issues with privacy and all of those kind of things when it comes to emerging technology, especially now. So, Jen, how do you counteract that in the work that you do?
So our whole design process has the learner at the forefront of it. What are the types of things that a trainer can't easily explain? We recreate that for the learner so that it's something that they can experience. And so really, when we're looking at safety training, where are the common injuries and fatalities taking place, and then replicating those types of environments and situations and allowing them to practice through these things. So it's really about identifying what are the one or two golden nuggets that we need to help reinforce, and being very intentional about how we create that for the best like learning outcomes, if you will. So it's all about designing around the learner themselves.
Thank you. So we have about 15 minutes left in this conversation, and we have a lot of questions. So I'm going to kind of speed run this and ask you all to give me like your shortest, most concise answer for the next questions, because I really want to lean into these questions that we have that talk about barriers. So I'm going to skip ahead to which barriers persist to scaling women-led human impact globally, because we talked a lot about how women impact humanity, especially in these technological spaces. But what are the barriers that you see? Thalia, could you start there?
Yeah, of course. So to me, one big barrier is that human outcomes are still seen as secondary across industries until there's a crisis. So capital, procurement, policy, revenue often reward speed and efficiency over resilience or human-centric outcomes. So women-led initiatives can be harder to scale because they refuse to grow in ways that quietly transfer risk to other people. I think that that's a significant outcome that has to be intentionally confronted and deconstructed to solve. It requires a very nuanced approach, in my opinion.
That is very interesting, and I hope that is going to be changing with more women joining the workforce, and collaborating together. Sequoia, chime in on that.
Sure. So when I think about barriers and what we go through as women, I feel like we have to kind of rise up to our male counterparts, and that's not necessarily the case. We need to just perform from the perspective of what we know as women and navigate in that way. And I think that's how we can navigate those barriers, because we just have a very different perspective and lens as to how to move through the world. And instead of saying, hey, let me be like this man, it's like, no, I'll be myself authentically, and that will make me the cream rises to the crop, right? Or the top. So that'll allow me to get to where I need to be. So that's what I would say in terms of navigating.
Do you think that there's a lot of fear between women who want to authentically be themselves, but they're up against
I
all
do. I absolutely think there's a lot of fear. And for me, I've had venture-backed tech companies. This is my second venture-backed tech company. And what I've learned is the second time around, just be you, because at the end of the day, they're going to accept you or they're not. And either way, the people who are supposed to be a part of your tribe and who are supposed to be a part of your organization will come to you anyway. So I just stop appeasing other people and just do what I need to do in order to be successful. And the people that gravitate to me just do.
That's a wonderful piece of advice. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sequoia. Jabet, please chime in on that.
Some of the barriers that we have encountered or have encountered as an individual is one, there is unequal access to capital to many of the organizations, especially in these sides of the world. And also there is limited representation in decision-making spaces. Like even in our parliamentary spaces, even in the tech spaces, and the leadership, there's less women that are representing our needs. And also there is structural bias. That is very obvious. Even the people in the first world countries also experience that. And also we have restrictive social norms. I know that is not felt in every part of the world, or not as hard as it is felt in some of these places where the indigenous communities, where the social norms are taken very seriously. The second thing is that women often carry disappropriate unpaid labor. As we know that women are expected to do so much for so little. So you have to do the work that you are supposed to do, or that you are assigned to do as a woman. And then now you have to take some time to do innovative work or build your organization or your company, which takes a toll on women. The third thing is that the women-led initiative, they struggle so much in scaling because they're perceived as a local organization, or they are informal organization. People tend to see it as a very small thing, and it is very difficult for them to be given fundings and also to raise funds on their own or in different spaces, because they are considered informal, or people assume that they don't know what they are doing. So in conclusion, the scaling requires that we make a transformation of the whole system, which is going to take some time, but we know that we will eventually be there.
That was very interesting and very insightful. You mentioned a lot, from social norms to the perspectives of women being seen as not as professional or not as adept as other men or their other counterparts. And those are real, true systemic barriers in many parts of the world, to be quite honest. So I applaud each and every one of you all for standing steadfast in your industries. Now, Marian, I want to know, which ethical innovation challenges actually require proactive women-led governance that you've seen in the work that you do?
Yes, I think in the work we do, we will see like data ownership and consent. That's a key challenge. Other will be financial inclusion, um, taking women, not seeing them as weaker, but because they are operating ethically within a broken system. So trying to hack like the system and include them to make like products center in their needs. And also, if we are talking about AI systems, we need to be there to try to fight to don't reinforce existing bias, because there are bias in the world, and especially in AI. We need to work directly with the ethical AI. And I think when we look for women-led governance, this really matters, because if we prioritize them in a long-term human impact over a short-term optimization, we will feel included, and the systems are not going to reward speed and growth. They will reward sustainability and care. Also, supporting women for the unpaid or emotional labor that women leaders have.
That was really deep. That was you said a mouthful there. I don't even know that I can add anything. But Mary, if you could chime in, based on what you do as the founder of AI Literacy Hub, what ethical innovation challenges actually require you to be proactive?
Yeah, I agree with everything Marianne has said. But to add on that, when you talk about stuff like AI taking jobs, I believe that ethical innovations to ensure that women are at the forefront of upskilling themselves, learning all these digital skills, understanding the digital skills, being at the forefront so that they are not left behind. And also, there's a lot of misuse, a lot of data privacy issues that arise with AI tools and all these tools that are coming up. So, standing at the point of ethical innovation, ensuring that every tool that is created, every tool that we use, also ensuring that we are also giving feedback. When you use a tool and you feel like it's not ethical, there's one issue or two issues, two ethical issues not being misused. It is important for opening up the feedback loop so that even the creators of these tools can understand what we as users or we as consumers are feeling about the tool.
Now, that is a remarkable thought, especially when you talk about closing that feedback loop, because a lot of times people are really leery about the information that they put out and how that even them saying a signal, a thumbs up or thumbs down on a response from AI will affect the types of responses that they get or anything like that. So it's really good that you mentioned that. We're going to push forward because this is about leaders and leadership. And all of you women are leaders. And I want to talk about the leadership mindset that enhances resilience under these complex global pressures. And I want us to end here. We have 5 minutes left, and I want to get a response from everyone. But what is your number one leadership mindset that allows you to remain resilient? And I'll start first. Mine is focusing on family, to be honest. Talia.
For me, it's explaining trade offs, whether it's managing up or managing down, explaining the nuances of the choices that we make as leaders and what implications that has for our team, especially things that are a bit women centric, like team members with families or team members with children. Explaining to my CEO, hey, our new hire is going to be coming in at 9:30 so she can do school drop off, but she's incredibly talented and she's a worthwhile asset to this team. And so for me, I feel like just transparency and sponsorship while explaining those trade-offs is incredibly valuable in protecting resilience, especially for women.
Awesome. What about you, Jen? Could you tell me a leadership mindset?
Unconditionally me first. got to take care of this first. My mental health is the most important thing in order to lead. And so I have to put myself first on the top of the to-dos at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day.
I love it. I love that so much. Close the loop on yourself. Okay, Dr. Tammy, your mic.
Purpose.
Yes.
Purpose is what you do and the impact you make. It's not this thing that's abstract and this thing out there that people don't understand. And I think it's doing what matters with intention, and it's being intentional.
I love it. I love it. Jabet, your mic, babe. You got it.
And now I'm going to remember this. So what I'm saying is that for me, it is integrity, because people out there expect you to go there and give them credible information, and I have to have the highest form of integrity to tell them that this is this, and not be biased in any way. That is it. Thank you.
Mary,
Thank you for this. I agree with what everyone has said. And to add on two things. The first one is forging collaborations globally. Like all of us here are from different sides of the world. Imagine what we could create if we collaborate. As long as we align in our values and we align in what we are doing, we could create so much value out of it. And number two is investing in ourselves. Let us continue investing in ourselves, whether it's upskilling, whether it's taking that career risk, whatever it is that matters to you, invest in yourself. Thank you.
okay, one word from Marion and one word from Sequoia as we wrap today.
Yes, so I will add adaptive leadership. So accepting uncertainty as a permanent condition, not a temporary pace, and we need to not just be top, is being aligned. And I'm agree with all the other words.
And finally, Sequoia.
God, thank you.
Girl, you better, girl. Listen, and that's it. And that's all. We are leaders advancing humanity's progress. Get into it. Thank you so much, ladies. This was such a valuable gather. I enjoyed each and every one of you, and let us collaborate and continue to gather well. Thank you, Gatherverse, for this She Summit. Bye-bye.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me? I can. I can't hear Dr. Nangasima right now.
Oh,
She's
I'm
still
sorry. I'm sorry. I needed to unmute myself.
okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, and welcome everybody. Hello, Lillian, as well, and we're just waiting for Dr. Ngwenya to join us. But in the interim, I'm sure she'll be with us shortly, as she's confirmed. I would like to welcome the panelists to this roundtable where we're talking about the future of medicine, but just not only the future of medicine as designed by women, which I think is an apt topic for this gather. The purpose of this conversation is not really about today's work, and I think it's important for me to frame as the moderator where the focus is going to be. Of course, visibility, inclusion, representation, those are all very important conversations that matter, and they matter today. But what we are going to focus on is understanding all of those issues. What could the future look like? So this is really an opportunity for us to imagine or even reimagine the design of medicine. And so this conversation, hopefully time permitting, we'll try and move across different aspects, which include values, careers, policy, technology, and leadership. I know all these women personally. I've interacted with all of you, so I know that we have quite a broad range of views, and so it's important to say that the purpose is not to gain consensus. It's just to name what is currently working or not working for us as women in medicine, and then imagine what could be built differently. So before we begin, I am going to take the opportunity to introduce the panelists that are here with us today. And I'm going to start with Dr. Maisha Claiborne, who's an integrative physician. She's a thought leader. She's also an NLP trainer who helps individuals and organizations to understand how trauma shapes the brain, behavior, and communication. She's also the founder of Mind Remapping Company, and she supports leaders and systems to become genuinely trauma-informed in how they relate, how they lead, and how they perform. The second panelist is Dr. Ali and Aliobe, known as Dr. Ali Eri Emulo. She is a board-certified primary care physician, a speaker, an anti-bullying advocate who's based in Little Rock, Arkansas, in the United States. And her focus is on physician mental and emotional well-being. She is a strong advocate for the medical profession. She founded Physicians Keeper to promote respectful, psychologically safe cultures in medical education. And the final guest is Lillian Wehangana. Lillian is a medical student at the University of Zambia and an emerging leader in the youth and health advocacy. And of course, if we are talking about the future, we have to have the people who are going to be in the future. She's the founder of Youth Link Zambia, and she's also the Secretary of Health for the University of Zambia Medical Students Association. And her work spans mentoring, health education, gender empowerment through active volunteer active volunteer roles, such as with Go Power Platform or with the YWCA. So welcome to the panelists. I'm sure we're going to have a very good conversation, given that we are also going to be looking at different points of the system, from training to practice, leadership, and innovation. But before we do that, I'd like us to maybe anchor our conversation in some principles. And so I guess the first question that we'd want to ask, and I wonder if I can move this forward. The first question that I would want to ask is really around values as an organization. So before we talk about solutions, before we talk about structures, if we were to take a step back and identify some principles. So maybe I'll start with Dr. Maisha. When you imagine a healthcare system that truly works for women, what are the values that you believe are non-negotiable that will be at its core?
Thank you. I think that when we look at the future as designed by women, we are looking at values like collaboration and community. We're looking, of course, at integrity, but like this concept of shared leadership and collaboration and community, I think are strong things that are we're sort of missing in today's world.
Absolutely. I think that's certainly the way that we live as women. Collaboration is, when we talk about a village,
Mhm.
we definitely collaboration and relational centered people. Lillian, I wonder if you have a view about that as well. What are the values as an early career or as a medical student from your vantage point that would sit in this redesigned medicine?
I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm glad to be here with everyone. Yeah, so for me, I feel like the principles that we really have to put in line as women redesign in medicine is not theory being the main thing that's governing us, but us women having to redesign medicine from real life experiences. Yeah, I feel like that's the main thing for me.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Lillian. It's really about it being rooted in the realities of medicine. And as we know, it's not a challenge. It is what it is. Like in many professions, we know that medicine is male coded, and maybe it is structured in a way that has not always included the realities of women. And I think we will definitely get back. We'll get into that conversation later in our conversation. Dr. Ali, for you, I know in the work that you do, it's all about values, or very much rooted in values. What are the values that you believe future healthcare system should be rooted in, that would include or be mindful of women?
Thank you, Dr. Onasimo. I'm glad to be part of this today. For me, I would look at it, just from a patient standpoint and also from a physician standpoint, things like dignity when it comes to women's health, where, women are believed, with their responses initially and not dismissed as you're being emotional about this or you're overreacting about this, where our feelings, our symptoms do matter and are taking, in with the same severity as if it were a man. And also safety, very important as part of the values for women in the workforce and also for patients. From a personal standpoint, I know the struggles that I had, from a training standpoint, and part of those I felt would not have happened if I were a man, right? There'd be certain things that I would have been more vocal about, and I did not want to respond in a certain way that it felt, oh well, it's just because you're being emotional about this, and so preserving my dignity would have been being taking the weight of what I said as serious as if it were a man who said it. And I've seen, other physicians, even as a popular physician coach that I know of who was an MD, who presented to the hospital with severe symptoms of sepsis and was thought of being anxious. That was the initial dismissal, that she was in an anxiety state. And so that robs you of your dignity when you're, your symptoms are not taught as severe, or they're put it to the side as this was just an emotional response. And so I see a system where dignity and safety are at the forefront of the values in a designed by women.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Ali. I think that was really well articulated. When we think about some of the systems really having the skill set to understand male coded articulations of frustration, and as you said, perhaps using a different way of ensuring that the way women might express themselves and articulate their frustrations would be different. So we do need a system that is sensitized to both men and women. Thank you for that. So as we think about these values, and I'm going to stay with you, Dr. Ali, because I know you also are doing some academic work, but the other colleagues will also weigh in. When we think about these values, and if these values that we've identified actually guided investment and research priorities, right? What are the areas of women's health that you think would move faster or finally received the attention that it has not received up to now?
Oh, there's a whole spectrum of that, but I'll try to narrow it down as the ones we commonly see. So especially when it comes to autoimmune disorders, right, which women represent about 80% of autoimmune in terms of population compared to men. From my experience, those are the one of the cases I would say that it takes a long delay in diagnosis or even believing these symptoms. And so in a system where if we were to advance research and this was led by women, I believe that things like autoimmune disorders, we would have earlier diagnosis, earlier treatment, prompt responses, more serious responses, right, to those complaints. And even when it comes to issues surrounding, pregnancy, menopause, PMS, name it, that center around women's health, if research were geared towards that, a lot of symptoms that women deal with, we would have a quicker response time, quicker treatment. Women would show up better to the workforce, knowing that they were heard, they were treated. Patients would feel better knowing that they were heard by their doctor and there's something in place to make sure that their symptoms are not pushed to the side.
Very well said. I know, Dr. Maisha, you've got something to add for sure around that.
Of course, menopause is high, high on the list of things that I think would be advanced in terms of research, because I think that's something that, with a bit of ageism, has been pushed to the side. We're just now, really touching the tip of the iceberg with that, but also. Really kind of alongside of what Dr. Ali said is like rare diseases. I think rare diseases in women would probably get more attention if we had women leading the research efforts.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Lillian, I see Dr. Ngwenya has joined us. I know she has some technical issues, but in the meantime, Lillian, I don't know from where you sitting as a medical student, perhaps you might have also had reflections on this and where you think the research priorities might be for women.
All right, thank you so much. So for me, I feel like I'll just add on what the senior doctors have already said. I feel like issues that have to do with mental health with regard to postpartum, postmenopausal, I feel like those are things that are just overlooked, and I feel like they really affect, or just young girls like us. I think the different hormonal cycles we have to go through affect our moods, and that's not something everyone understands. And girls just have to numb their feelings here and there, just not to be seen as weak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful to hear from a different generation of up and coming doctors. Dr. Skululiwe Ngwenya, welcome, and apologies for the technical issues. Just to introduce everybody, Dr. Skululiwe Ngwenya is based in Zimbabwe. She's an experienced medical doctor with a strong interest in digital health, in emerging technologies, and also she's a blogger, and she's fascinated by technologies that enhance the patient experience and passionate about evidence-based clinical care. So welcome, Dr. Ngwenya. Can you hear us? I wonder if you can hear us. Okay. All right. So we missed that. I'm sure they're going to bring her up again. So maybe while we are on the issue of the research priorities, often, as we build evidence, what we want to see is that evidence becoming policy, and policies that are actually shaped by the lived experiences of women. So if we were to translate what we have discussed so far into policy, how do you think that the policy changes, or how do you think health policy changes when women's lived realities are treated as essential data, so, and aligning also with the lived reality? Let me ask Dr. Ali.
So I would lean in the sense of, especially when it comes to reproductive health, right? That's a huge chunk of a woman's life. There are a lot of policies that do not favor women at different stages of their life, especially when it comes to their careers, where sometimes pregnancy is seen as an interruption to a woman's work life, as opposed to seeing it as a gift or a joy. So it's almost, let me give a practical real life scenario. If you're a residency training program and then you get pregnant, it's almost like you're not being considerate of your training, as opposed to this being a thing of joy. Then it's almost a thing of dread, where then you have that fear that if I do go in and tell that I'm pregnant, what would that look like for my training? And so it puts then a lot of stress on the pregnant individual. And down the line, it then impacts her career, because she has this gap and it says, why did you take off during this so and so time, and gets penalized. So I believe that if we had policies in place based on these experiences that would account for these changes in women's lives, pregnancy, childbearing, knowing that right after 6 weeks, it's probably not enough time for a mother to stay with her newborn, and there's a lot of anxiety that goes into that, extending those time frames as to when she is comfortable, paid leaves, extended paid leaves, as opposed to having to decide between, if she's a sole caregiver, how can I balance providing for my family, going back to work, and living my newborn? So I think that policies would center a lot about women's reproductive health, especially when it comes to the pregnancy part.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back, Dr. Ngwenya. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I don't know if I'm audible now.
Absolutely perfect. So we're just going to jump straight into it, just to give you an opportunity as well to weigh in. I know you're going to hit the ground running. So we're really talking about policy. I'm not sure if you heard the conversation. So we've basically talked about some of the values that we believe would guide the investment and research priorities, the areas of women's health that we think would then be informed by those values. And so we're now really at a point where we're wanting to translate that into policy. And so the question is really, how do you think the health policy changes when women's lived realities are treated as data or are considered?
Thank you for that question. I think for women's health, there's need to have more inclusive involvement of women in the processes of research or testing of technology devices and healthcare products, so that these devices can really help the women that they are targeted for. So I believe that the policies, they also need to consult women at different levels, whether be it care providers, patients, people in the community, and so forth, and really include the voices of everyone. Every woman's voice needs to be heard.
And thank you for that. And I think that's a great segue, maybe to draw Lillian into the conversation as well. When you often talk about women, we're not one monolith, right? And so they are. We don't have one life, one body. And I'm curious, Lillian, from your perspective as a medical student, what are the policies that you think would best reflect young people or that need to be considered in developing health policies?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I believe there's so many gaps that are there right now, and I feel like how best can I put this? Right now, being a girl in medicine is no longer. Most people will think you're being too ambitious. I feel like now the that myth is going down a bit because we have more women in medicine. But I feel like best believing in us. I feel like as young girls, helping us. I think like having females that have gone before us that can show us the route and tell us that it's possible could help us. I feel like that brings about mentorship for young student physicians. So I feel like issues to do with mentorship, especially for female student physicians, I feel like could go in best for us.
And yes, definitely, we have a lot of life experience amongst us. And so maybe I'm going to throw this question back. And I think Dr. Ellie touched on it, but maybe the rest of the panel is also well positioned to talk on this. Building on what Dr. Ellie mentioned earlier about medical careers that take into account normal life events like caregiving, like pregnancy, like maternity leave, like menopause. What would what would medical careers look like if those were considered and those parts were, or those aspects were just part of professional life rather than what it is at the moment, which is disruptions to one's career trajectory? Dr. Ngwenya, what do you think?
I think life events should be treated as normal events that can happen, whether be it motherhood or fatherhood. It shouldn't mirror what people think is possible for the girl child or for the boy child. I believe that there should be support and flexibility in the workplace, where opportunities should not be refused to people because you're likely going to be pregnant, especially if you are young. You think that you're going to be pregnant every 6 months or something like that, but it's not realistic. Whatever choices that you make in your personal life shouldn't affect your career. And I think also as women, we also need to support each other as well, and not feel like if someone needs to take a breastfeeding hour or something, they're slacking off work or something like that. We are all women at the end of the day, and we should be our biggest support network.
Dr. Maisha, I know that you work with organizations, and so you know firsthand how this plays out in workplaces. Can you weigh in on that issue? What would it look like to have medicine reflect the realities of our lives?
Absolutely. I think that, coming back to centering the values again, if we're embodying those values of community and collaboration, nurture, love, shared leadership, what we're going to see is a difference in how the job shows up in general. We may end up with more job sharing just to reflect the flexibility of the life that we lead as women. We will likely have more coverage, as Dr. Nguyen, Winya said, around these normal life events and how we need to support and cover for one another. And so I think there will be more of an emphasis on community and coverage. And then overall, we see longevity in our careers. So because we have that support, because we would have that potential for job sharing, not all people want to work full time. And so to be able to have that type of collaboration will bring us more capacity to work, to bring our best selves, more career longevity, less burnout, less moral injury. And I think overall for organizations, better retention of top tier physicians and talent.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for that. Let's look at, I was going to talk about burnout, but let's move forward so that we can talk about the issue of success metrics. And maybe we will introduce burnout, as you've already mentioned. And if burnout was important, how might we need to rethink how we measure, what we measure, and also what we reward as success in medicine, compared to now, where it's really about productivity, right? The RVUs, the number of patients that you see. If we were to center women or redesign medicine, what might those success metrics look like? Let's ask Dr. Ali.
So I would lean towards patient experiences and patient outcomes as being the metrics, where I don't have to see 30 patients a day, and churn out poor quality or quality outcomes. But if the 15 that I see and spend time with, and you're able to measure their health patterns from when they started and where they are now, and you see that their diabetes is better, their depression is better, their high blood pressure is better, they feel like they can be in charge of their health, and you are able to measure those metrics based on not the volume now, but the quality of patients, that would be a great measure. The current system, like you said, doesn't favor patient quality. It focuses a lot on patient quantity. How many can you see? How, get those numbers up, but then not take into fact that that time was not enough for the patient to feel like that they heard their doctor, or for the doctor to go down deep into the issue. So this is a non-compliant patient. And then all we're focusing is, well, you're not compliant, but we don't have that time to actually sit and find out that there's some struggles with transportation, there's some struggles with finances, and all we do is just, okay, make sure you take your medication and then prescribe more. And then they come back again in 3 months. You're going to have the same outcome at the next visit that you did because of the time. So you have the numbers, but the quality of patients are still at the same level. So quality, I think, and patient experiences would be the metrics I believe should be used to replace for success.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, maybe less about the productivity and more about outcomes for patients. Dr. Esco, I know you're working in digital health as well, and this might translate a little bit differently. From your perspective in that space, I wonder if you agree with Dr. Ali, but also how would, what are the metrics of success that you think could replace the ones that we have currently that are so focused on productivity?
Thank you. For me, the metrics I agree with what Dr. Ali was saying. I would add that we also need metrics to do with tracking of patients if they have missed visits, missed refills. If there are no shows, we need to know what happened to them. And patients also, they get lost of times. There are many things that happen within the 3 months in between the visits. Sometimes they go and find that the insurance is not paying for their medication, and they can't get a slot to see the doctor again. So that means they're going to wait for 3 months before they come back, unless they get admitted, which is something that we would definitely wouldn't want to happen. So there are lots of things that digital health and AI and technologies that are there these days could help with, especially with the tracking, even monitoring the diabetes over time. Sometimes in some clinics, patients are seen by different providers every time they go for a visit, especially in public hospitals, which makes continuity of care something that in the current state, leaving a lot to be desired. But if things are being presented digitally in a way that is helpful for the patient and the provider, it means that the devices in front of us are not being obstacles of care, but are actually helping us improve the outcomes, improve the productivity and efficiency of the clinics in our hospitals and facilities.
Mm-hmm. And staying with you then on the digital and the AI, I think obviously if we're talking about the future, we have to acknowledge those changes, right? Where we are going to see a bigger role for AI and technology and digital systems. What is the role of those tools in enhancing the experience for women in medicine?
For me, I think the best tool, probably many women have experienced the period tracker app or the pregnancy tracker app. I feel that if every aspect of medicine is as good as those health tracker apps, it means that these tools are actually used for the purpose that they need to be used. The tools, they also need to be efficient for the doctor, for the specialist, in ensuring that there's continuity of care and no one is left guessing why this patient is on warfarin or why this drug was stopped and things like that. But in the current state, with the paper records and the systems that don't communicate with each other, lots of information, precious information is lost or not communicated well across providers or even with the patients themselves. So there's really lots that is happening now, and there's lots that is going to happen in the future to improve experiences for both care providers and patients. And I'm glad to be part of the movement, and people make experiences much, much better for women across the board.
Mm-hmm. Lillian, I'm not going to assume, but please forgive me for assuming as a young person that probably you're already very much involved in the utilization of technology. So from your perspective as a medical student, how might AI and digital health and all of those evolve if their primary goal was women-centric?
Oh, thank you. So just to add on what Dr. Ngoni and Dr. Ali said, I feel like having patient modules would really help us in the hospital, because I feel like doctors would have patient information on their phones at their homes, and they have enough time to check through and study everything they have to study on the different patients they'll see the following day. And I feel like that does not only buy them time, but also I feel like it gets them prepared for what they're going to meet when they come to the ward the following day. So I believe like with digital health that's coming up, we could have patient modules, like have a module in hospital for everywhere, every patient's details or the labs they've ever done, what they're taking is being recorded for each patient. Then every doctor has access to that module for each patient. That way, I feel like, because honestly, for me, we do have times where they did order for ultrasound, but then you ask the relatives like, where is the ultrasound? And they have no idea. Then you have to again send them to radio to do it, which is time. And I feel like that's what increases the lines there and whatnot. So I feel like having it online will really buy us time and better patient outcome.
Mm-hmm. Just staying with you, Lillian, by the time one completes medical training, and I think in most countries you're looking at least 10 to 15 years, the world that that when you started and the world that you leave at the end, right, of your medical training is not the same. And I'm wondering how, with the disruptive nature of medicine, what are the roles that you anticipate might change? And what are the new roles you think that healthcare needs right now that don't yet exist, but probably should? Lillian?
As I feel like for my country, I'm going to speak for us. I feel like we don't have so many nurses, as they don't employ as much nurses as we should have in our hospitals. So I believe us employing or having more nurses, especially because they do have a one-to-one relationship with most patients, would really help us. So yeah, I feel like I would wish for us to have maybe moderate amount of doctors, but more nurses, just to allow for patients to really have easy healthcare services near them. I don't know if I'm answering the question right.
Yeah. Dr. Ali, I know you are in academic medicine, and this question might have come up for you as well. What are the new roles that you see for the future, if you were to design it as a woman, of course, and also what are the roles that you think are no longer going to exist in the future?
Okay, before I answer that, I'd just like to piggyback on that digital advancement when it comes to AI, because I'm in that field now where we are begging for AI scribes where I work, and we're asking, hey, please give it to us. And the reason why I feel it'd be so helpful for us would be, we enter a patient's room and all we're doing, we're on this, like we're typing, we're trying to meet up with those demands. We have those notes we're supposed to close. They give us deadlines. These notes need to be closed in 3 days. You need to submit this. And for me, what that would look like is, if I do have a scribe that takes the necessary information when I'm in the room, I can focus on the patient. Like, I don't have to worry that, oh, did I miss this? Did I miss that? Like, they have my undivided attention. And so they don't leave there feeling like the doctor was on the screen the whole time and they listen to me. And I always tell them, look, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to make sure everything you say is documented. So if we do have those that come in, AI scribes, they would save the physician time, because a big thing with us is burnout, right? And so when half of your work is already done before you leave the room, then you can close up those notes. You can go home. You can spend that time with your family. And so your patients benefit from that. You're not as stressed out. Then you get home and your family can also enjoy you, because half of you is not trying to meet up with the demands of work. So I believe that once we advance in that, that would solve a whole lot of problems. Now, regarding the roles that I believe should come in play when it comes to the future of healthcare, coaching is a big thing. Coaching is a very big thing that I believe should be afforded to every, physician, everyone who's going into the medical space. In the past, it wasn't coaching wasn't well embraced because people did not understand the dynamics of it. But now we see the roles they play, even for physicians, right? Mental health coaching. Now there's a whole sphere of coaching. They're even charting coaching. You're struggling with your charts. There's someone who can help you sort that out. And so mental health, I believe, plays a huge role in physician lives. And I believe that if coaching was something that is embraced completely, every organization would give physicians access to coaching, be it business, even business coaching. You're a physician and you're so medicine is all you know, but then you want to know, okay, if I want to deliver the best care to my patients, I know I have to know a bit about business so that whatever I'm doing, I can multiply it, because that multiplication comes with finances. But then you have no clue what to do differently. So even business coaches should be a thing for organizations to think. We have this physician who wants to grow in this area. Let's make sure this is available. So I believe that coaching should take a very big role in the future of healthcare. And organizations should look for how they can fund these for physicians who are in those spaces.
Right. And Dr. Maisha, you knew I was coming to you definitely as a coach, but as somebody who really understands the career development space and where new roles could potentially exist in the future that we might not have today that would speak really to the challenges that we have in healthcare. How do you want to weigh in on that?
Well, what I want to say is that when we talk about metrics, and I'm going to come right back to this, one of the things that is often left out is the stories of the community. And stories are the stories and can lead to the data that we need to create those outcomes. And so what I'm thinking in terms of like what might exist that doesn't exist today is a community liaison. Maybe that community, maybe there are community liaisons that are healthcare professionals, physicians, but they're also the community liaisons that are from the community. And so then what happens is that you start to gather the stories of what's going on in the community and begin to measure community outcomes and measure those stories and measure the trends and the progress. And that's a different way to think about metrics. I think also just on the physician side, to bring it back a little bit physician centric, one of the things that technology can do is similar to what Dr. Ali said, is oftentimes when we're finished with a patient visit, we like to give a summary. And oftentimes we spend a lot of mental energy trying to translate that summary into what would be understandable by the patient. So I wonder if one of the evolutions of AI would be to translate for us from what our summary is to what the patient would understand based on their language, environments, level of understanding. And I think so there could be a role around creating technology or AI technology in that domain as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. So we're almost at the end, but I do want to squeeze this question in about the future generation of girls that are coming up. As we know, medicine nowadays really is represented, is no longer the profession that we probably found, which had less women than men. I think for the last 5 years now, we've seen more and more young girls entering the profession. So the question is really, if we were to look beyond the institutions, what shifts when future generations of girls grow up seeing themselves everywhere in medicine? We still know that there are some male-coded specialties, for example. But what would shift if they were able to see themselves everywhere? Let me start with Dr. Lillian, because I know you are already in that space.
I thank you so much. I feel like it wouldn't be so hard for us to come out of our shells. Yeah, I feel like we would boldly come out and do everything because the world already believes we can be anything. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Thank you for that. Dr. Ngwenya?
Girls would have big dreams and big goals, like straddling across academia or business, having your own clinic, doing great things out there. I think we need lots of examples like that, especially in the African setup. So I really look forward to that in the future.
Mm-hmm. So we are at the end of our session and we just have a few minutes remaining. And I wonder, just as a wrap up, if I could have just really 30 seconds from each of you about your dream about the future of medicine as designed by women. Let's start with Dr. Maisha.
Thank you so much. I envision a time when we no longer say the first woman in this specialty, the first woman in this leadership position, the first woman president of a hospital. I envision where when there are so many girls seeing us do the things that we do, that that will cease to exist.
Dr. Ellie?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. As I wrap up, I would like to say my vision for this would be where women are not just limited to one space, where you can have a good family life, you can have an excellent career life, where you don't have to choose between how many kids do I have versus serious do I want people to take me in my career, or without putting a stop. It's like I can thrive both at home and I can thrive both in the workforce. So you bring your best selves to every sphere that you dominate.
Lovely. Lillian?
Thank you so much. So I believe and wish that the future medicine will be not the rough medicine we entered into. I wish medicine could be a better place for females. A dream they'll achieve, knowing very well that they'll find pride in it, work fully without knowing it would take a lot from them, because treatment is really a calling. So I hope and wish that this is going to be a safe place and a great place for all the girls out there that are coming right now and after us. Yeah, thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Lillian. Dr. Ngwenya?
Thank you. I think medicine should be flexible, have flexible healthcare delivery options for both care providers and patients. I should be able to do whatever I want as a woman and still be able to fit in all the needs, medical, social, and be able to do it all.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much. So I really want to thank Dr. Maisha, Dr. Ali. I call her Dr. Lillian. I know she's still a medical student, but I call her Dr. Lillian, and Dr. Sko for your honesty, for your rigor, and the seriousness that you also brought into this conversation. So as we close, I just really wanted to reflect on what we've done here. Of course, the aim was not to solve the problems of medicine today. Ours was just to name some of the important things, some of the many pressures that we face as women and that we experience in medicine. And what I think came out of this conversation is that these are not personal failures. This conversation is not going to stay only in this room, I believe. I think already all of you are doing so much work already in your own spaces, and hopefully the mindfulness that comes from these conversations means that we're going to continue to impact how we lead as women, into how policies are written, how structures are designed, medical training, and how our careers are also structured. So your contribution has really assured me that the future of medicine is in good hands, and certainly the work will continue beyond this evening. So thank you very much for all of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grow up, I am going to be really good at my job. I am going to work hard and hopefully get promoted and make good money. And I'm going to check my email all the time, any time of day. I'm probably going to burn out every few months, every few weeks. We'll see. And I'm definitely going to cry alone in my car. That's the dream. No. Welcome to the Fulfillment Code. How women in tech can break through burnout to build C-suite legacies. Because the future of tech depends on women who refuse to choose between ambition and well-being. I'm Jackie Roby, Executive Leadership Advisor and Peak Performance Strategist. Now on this slide, or looking at LinkedIn, Googling my name, you can see my accolades. But what I find to be the most important fact is that I'm a Latina who lives with depression, anxiety, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. What you'll learn today is a new definition of success that measures sustainable C-suite readiness, not hustle. A 10-second tool that you can use wherever, whenever to help find you calm, and how you can build support systems that retain women in tech. Because 57% of women in tech burn out, and we've got to change that. The problem is the stories that are running in your head. Keep pushing forward no matter the cost. No pain, no gain. Oh, I'm so busy. We are ingrained in this hustle culture and it is killing us. But look at this. Is this the kind of leader you want to be? Is this the kind of leader that you trust? Or what about being cool, calm, and collected? It's not about performing. No, it's about really, truly feeling this deep in your bones. Now, what's happening right now is you are living in survival mode, but it's not your fault and you have the capability to change this. I used to operate the same way. It was a pattern in my career. The more stressed I got, the harder I worked. I thought that was the answer, but it never worked out that way. Instead, I would burn out. My work would actually suffer. I might have worked longer hours, but the quality wasn't there. It impacted my relationships at home and at work, and I fell into really deep depressions. Not awesome. The thing is, your amygdala is firing nonstop, so you're in fight, flight, freeze, appease. But because of neuroplasticity, we can create change. Success without well-being is just expensive poverty. And I'm going to say that again. Success without well-being is just expensive poverty. So let's talk emotional regulation. Social emotional learning is being taught to kids in school right now. It's that important, but we were not given that. Or maybe we were given one course once upon a time, or you got to do it digitally and pretend that that made everything better, but it doesn't. So let's do a 10-second tip. That's what we've got time for today. Whenever you're feeling stressed, irritated, upset, whatever it is, and you don't have the time to feel your feelings, some quick tactile things. See this? Touch your fingers, tap your fingers. It is a very simple thing to do, and it interrupts the negative pattern in your brain. Studies have shown that when you do 15 minutes of mindfulness a day consecutively, after 8 weeks, you're going to see a change in an MRI scan. We are building new neural pathways that are stronger towards your frontal lobe, towards your prefrontal cortex. Why? Because we want to improve your innovation, your productivity, creativity, calm, wisdom, and guess what? Happiness. Yeah, I said it. This will make you happier too, in addition to all the cool work stuff that you're gonna do. Women leave tech roles at a 45% higher rate than men. How do we change that? We need to build the support systems that are retaining women in tech. Does your company have employee resource groups? If so, are you participating? If not, how are you building community? And when you say my community is my friends and family, that's great, and I applaud that, but that is not enough. What are the questions you're asking to your peers? How curious are you getting? Is it just a professional conversation, or are you honoring them for their whole being? Networking is more than the exchange of business cards. Are you networking outside of your industry? There's so much power in that. I challenge you today to ask one peer of yours who you've only said professional things to, ask them a question that's about them, that's different than business. If you need an example, what's bringing you joy today? The future of tech depends on women who refuse to choose between ambition and well-being. So your 3 power moves. Redefine success. It's not hustle, it's well-being. Give yourself 10 seconds of calm all throughout the day. Work on that emotional regulation and create a legacy with community and well-being. Now, if this is of interest to you, if you want to do more, work on your emotional regulation, find that calm, that wisdom, grow community in new ways, work on retaining your women in tech. Let's start the conversation. There's a free resource for you, 3 stress myths keeping you stuck and the simple fixes that actually work. Because success without well-being is just expensive poverty.
She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man on down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk. And the only time he's satisfied is when he's on a drug. Oh, mothers, tell your children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform, the other foot on the trail. Going back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. Well, there is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know